Welcome to Podcast 360, powered by the Podcast Academy. In 3 questions answered in 60 seconds each, you'll experience a 360-degree view of podcasting from a lineup of industry experts. The hosts of your favorite podcasts will take turns interviewing each other, creating a chain of podcast knowledge and perspective. Let's meet our industry experts. Today's host is...
Hi, I'm Stefanie Gonzales, the founder of the Women's Wealth Effect. You heard me last week when I was interviewed by Bernadette Joy, my wonderful co-host on the Crush Your Money Goals podcast.
And who is our guest this week?
Hi, my name is Anthony Weaver. I'm the host of the About That Wallet podcast, where we help the sandwich generation build confidence in their finances.
First, the game before the game. We ask our guests to share 2 truths and a lie. Our host will guess which is the lie, and we'll find out the answer together at the end of our conversation. Let's play Podcast 360.
All right, Anthony, I'm super excited to have you up early in the morning as my guest on the Podcast 360. Thanks so much for joining. And as always, we begin Podcast 360 with a round of 2 truths and a lie. This is where you're going to tell me 3 amazing facts about yourself, and I'm going to do my best guess to decide or decipher which one is the lie. You don't tell me what it is whenever I actually make my choice, because we're going to hold that to the end of the podcast, and we'll reveal that to the audience at the end. You ready?
Yep.
All right, let's go.
So I have 2 truths and a lie. I love this game. So the first one is my credit score used to be 345. Second one is I forgot to hit the record button when recording podcasts. And number 3, I record over 5 episodes using my cell phone.
Ooh. 5 episodes of your whole thing, like your whole about that wallet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I definitely know that you have not hit record for certain episodes before, because I feel like you told me that when you interviewed me on your podcast. So I think you lied about then. I think you actually did more than 5 episodes on your phone, because you are a good podcaster and you wanted to stay consistent with your at least initial setup before you upgraded anything. And so, yeah, we're going to say you did more than 5 episodes on your phone.
All right, guess we'll see.
All right, we'll see what happens. So now I'm going to put you on the clock, Anthony. For the 360 portion of Podcast 360, I'm going to ask you 3 questions about podcasting, and you'll have 60 seconds to answer each of them. Once we get through the round of questions, we'll then pick one of the things that you talked about and deep dive into that subject so that we can get into some more detail. Are you ready to go?
I am ready.
So what was the moment that you decided that you wanted to, number 1, start a podcast, but make it specifically about that wallet and what you're looking to accomplish?
Well, what made me think about starting the podcast in general was that I was under the new understanding of what is money, because I was actually trying to pay off, like I just found out that you can actually pay off your cell phone, and I was like, wow, what other things that I don't know about money can buy me, and let me share this out to the world. And that's one of the reasons why I kind of came up with About That Wallet, especially during COVID. It was nothing else to do. So I was like, let me talk to somebody, and that's what I came up with.
Awesome. As creators, we also have to be consistent, but also know when we have to pivot. So it's a very fine balance, right? What was one of the most recent pivots in the way that you do About That Wallet that you're most proud of?
When it came to getting on YouTube was one of the areas and boundaries I was afraid of actually turning on the camera and getting in front of people because of my gap in my teeth. But now it becomes a staple for the show. So being consistent and pivoting my show to video has been one of the things that I'm most proud of, and not just to reach a wider audience, but also so that people can actually see me. And I'm also proud of myself for going beyond what I think is possible for myself.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. You also spoke about AI tools as a speaker at PodFest recently. Tell me a bit more about your favorite AI tool and how you practically use it today.
You did your research. So the AI tools that I've used for PodFest, I was talking about mostly how to utilize a tool that can actually take my audio and just give me so many different options. One of the tools that I currently use today that kind of give me all of that is Eddie by Headliner. And I use that all the time because it provides me show notes, information as far as like keywords that I can use for my YouTube videos and so forth. So I really love that tool.
Awesome. Love that. Love that.
Podcast 360 will be back in just a moment. And we're back with Podcast 360.
We've now gotten all of the different questions now done. Let's talk a little bit about this getting in front of the camera pivot that you mentioned. You know, I think we happened to pass each other at FinCon. And I remember in some way, shape, form, or fashion, we were like, oh, we had already met each other. But I think part of it is the smiles, the like personality that draws you in, just like feeling like you already know each other vibe, I think is what kind of happened for us in our kind of meet cute relationship, right? And I think that's really important to understand because connection is such an important thing in the world today, right? A lot of people are head down, working on their laptops, in their cubicles, whatever, and connection becomes this almost luxury, right? So how do you feel like now taking the leap into the video format element of your podcast has helped you create connections for you personally and for About That Wallet as your business?
Yeah, well, meeting you personally, it almost was like I'm meeting a celebrity because I always hear about you. I see you all the time. And I was like, man, what would it be like if I actually meet her? And then I saw you. I was like, hey, this is you. And it was amazing to have those experiences. And one of those things that I didn't realize is because I turned the camera on, there are people that are coming up to me who've been watching my live shows, but haven't had a chance to meet me in person. And when they do, it almost is like, wow, this is actually really a thing. And they are very excited to meet me. And I'm very excited to meet them. And I was like, hey, so what was your favorite episode? What segments do you like? Because a lot of people are afraid to type out things inside the comments, but they do watch. And that's one of the things that I really did enjoy about turning the camera on and being able to meet you and so many people at FinCon. I mean, it's a family. It's like a family reunion every time I go. Just love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah, and I can relate to when you get an opportunity to meet people, quote unquote, in the wild, right? I think I live in Portugal now, and I've met people here that follow me through various different ways. And, you know, they'll come up and say, hey, you're the Women's Wealth Effect. And you're like, oh, someone's really watching. And I love the fact that you've taken the chance to get a little uncomfortable and put yourself out there a little bit more. And the content and the topics that you discuss make a very taboo topic a lot more comfortable, relatable, and something that people are more willing to talk about more openly. So thank you so much for sharing your experience and your wisdom and your smile today.
Thanks.
So let's revisit this whole thing. I think your lie for your 2 truths and a lie was you have recorded more than 5 podcasts on your phone for About That Wallet. Was I right?
You're right. You're right.
So how many?
It was only about 4 before I finally switched to using like an actual like USB headset to my laptop. And I was slowly progressing as I went on, because the thing about it, like I got irritated with the phone piece because it kept getting an echo feedback. And I was like, it caused more editing for me. So let me try different ways and methods. And so that's why I slowly upgraded to the laptop and so forth.
Yeah. Well, if you're listening and you're really beginning, right, take some of Anthony's feedback in terms of maybe cutting out some of the additional steps if you're still recording on your phone. Right. Well, Anthony, thank you so much for being my guest. It's been so fun. Can you let our listeners know where they can find you, any social media pages, any websites, any shout outs that you'd like to give?
Yeah, so I want to give a shout out to all the listeners and all of you podcasters who are listening to this episode that are really looking to elevate your podcast. Now, remember, the technology is one thing, but the thing that we really need to lean into is the storytelling. Make sure that you guys are telling great stories and continue on to live an experience, get outside the house, live a life, and then come back and share your story, because everybody wants to hear about it. And you'd be surprised. You might have a fan out there listening and just want to meet you one day. Oh, and where you can find me. You can find me on all the social media platforms at About That Wallet. And you are more than welcome to join my newsletter. It's a monthly newsletter at aboutthatwallet.com/newsletter.
Awesome. Anthony, thank you so much for being a wonderful guest. And thank you to Podcast 360 and their team for having us today.
Thank you for listening to Podcast 360, where you experience a 360-degree view of podcasting. Special thanks to the Podcast Academy and DCP Entertainment. Follow us on social media at The Ambies and at DCP Official on Instagram. And subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so that you never miss an episode.